Guys, check this out. Manly is the #1 quarterly subscription box for men's performance and lifestyles. And for bad guys like me, Manly has solutions to optimize every aspect of your life. Stress management, muscle recovery, natural hormone management, focus, energy, tech, activewear, and grooming. I'm just getting started, guys. Believe it or not, there's over $400 worth of product in each box, and it's yours for just $39.66 a month. Here's how it works. Take a 5-question quiz, and Manly will curate a box just for you based on your answers. Keep it or customize it every 90 days. You get a new box of awesome products to help you live your ultimate life. Go subscribe to Manly Box right now for just $119. That's $130 off the original price. Want to save an additional $25 off your first box? Just click on the link below and enter the code CHAEL25. The first 50 orders will also get a free additional product in their first box, so don't wait. Click on the link below. Hasbulla. Let's talk a little Hasbulla. Now, I must tell you right out of the gate, this is one topic I never thought I would be discussing. But let me share my experience with Hasbulla. Fiziev fights. Fiziev puts on this amazing performance, okay? Now, I end up irritated with Hasbulla, but it's Fiziev's fault. Because Fiziev and Bobby Green not only was a fantastic fight, you want to talk about fight of the year, but there's all sorts of categories. You have the women's fight of the year, and you have the men's fight of the year. You have the heavyweight fight of the year. You want to talk about undercard fights of the year. You want to talk about one of the great undercard fights of all time. Not to mention Bobby Green versus Fiziev was highly controversial. There was even a judge who publicly weighed in to defend himself. I mean, it was one of these topics that didn't go away. That fight was beautiful at the time, but like a fine wine, it has gotten better. If you are not an MMA fan and you watch Fiziev versus Bobby Green and you don't like it, don't watch MMA anymore. But it's not going to get any better. That's how great these guys were. Now, I bring that up, and I have to give that backstory because Fiziev, in his moment in front of a sold-out arena, on a platform, on a microphone, calls out Hasbulla. My problem, this is Chael, I'm personalizing this. I don't know what a Hasbulla is when Fiziev says it, but I was excited. I was excited to go into the rankings and look up who Hasbulla is because I just became a Fiziev fan. I want to see Fiziev's next fight. He used this one. He was screaming in the camera, and Fiziev's got these muscles, right? He's got this hair, and he's got this intensity in his eyes. It was one of the great call-outs, and then I find that Hasbulla is a child, that it was a joke. Now I'm pissed. I'm pissed at one of my new favorite fighters, Fiziev, that he calls out a child. I don't get it. I don't get why he would waste the opportunity. So, and again, I'm personalizing. This is my story. I hold that against Hasbulla. I call Hasbulla a nerd. This is silly. And I'm looking this stuff up. Well, the more I get into Hasbulla, and I'm not happy. I'm not happy that Fiziev has called, because now I see that it's silly. It's silly humor. But the more I get into Hasbulla, there's a little bit more to the story, which first off, he is not a child. He has something. I can't produce it for you. He has something with his growth. So he's 18. He's an adult, very relevant to the story. But it also now I call the guy that's dealing with something. I called him a nerd, right? I mean, I realize nerd is low fire, but now I feel like a jerk. I would have never gone that route. I thought I was taking it out on Fiziev. Okay, Chael's story, but this is my perspective. Now you have to hold that thought because Joe Rogan did a piece 3 days ago that I saw this morning. It was on Hasbulla. And a little bit more evidence started coming about. Now, you do have to understand, as I'm telling you, if you guys are huge Hasbulla fans and you're realizing that I'm saying the wrong things and you think you need to go and correct me, you don't. I'm well aware that there's some moving parts and there's some mystery. But overall, Hasbulla is a phenomenon, period. You could think he's a nerd. You could think it was cool. He qualifies as a phenomenon. And if you don't study why, you will miss one of the great marketing lessons happening right in front of you. And it may not be something that you can go and copy because you can't be this cute guy that weighs 80 pounds. But there's still something there you could take away from. And I would encourage you to put a real good lens on this and try to break down, why is this working? Why is Joe Rogan talking about him? Why is Dana White saying potentially Hasbulla will fight in the UFC? Why does Mark Wahlberg want to meet him? Very interesting, right? Why? There is mystery around Hasbulla. I've heard two different sides. One, neither with any more credibility. One of the sides was that Hasbulla is 17 years old. One of them is that he's 18-year-old. It's relevant. Stay with me. Hasbulla has a back and forth with another guy named Abdul. If that's not the guy's name, don't correct me. You know who I'm talking about. These two are amongst the great workers ever. And if Hasbulla is much older, where somebody could grab him and train him and educate him, smarten him up, and then he can go out and perform this on camera, he gets all the credit in the world. But if his opponent, this Abdul, is not, and that's the way the story's told to me, that Abdul is an 8-year-old kid, but Hasbulla is actually an adult. Wherever the truth lie, I submit for you a little bit of mystery and a little bit of not clearing that up is helpful to the gimmick. That's what I submit for you, not knowing. I spent my time on Hasbulla trying to find out who he was because Fiziev calls him out, and I can't wait to see Fiziev's next fight. But then I start looking at Hasbulla, and I can't get a straight story. It has come to my attention, and I believe that it is accurate to tell you this is a Khabib creation. Khabib is the one that brought Hasbulla to the world, and I believe Khabib did it through the world of social media, and it just worked. I'm sure Khabib was surprised. I'm sure everybody was surprised. It's relevant on the age. As much as the mystery is helpful, it is relevant because Dana White has served this story better than anybody by saying, and I'm going to quote Dana, the chances of Hasbulla fighting in the UFC are better than 0. So he's saying there's a chance, right? There's a chance you're going to put Hasbulla in the UFC. Well, let's see what that looks like. Because he only has one opponent as I see it, which is this Abdul. If the story I'm hearing is true, which I cannot confirm by any means, if the story I'm telling you is true and Abdul is 8 years old, that match simply can't happen. If the story is true and Hasbulla is 17 years old, he cannot get a license. You must be, now I'm getting technical here, but if this is a real thing and we're going to get into it and Joe Rogan just threw some gas on the fire, if Hasbulla is going to fight within the organization of the unified rules, he's got to get a license. That's not Dana's call. That's not Rogan's call. That's not even Hasbulla's call. It's not just volunteer. You must be 18. You must be 18 to apply. Worldwide. Worldwide. Anywhere you want to take this, if you want to be under the ABC, the unified rules, got to be 18. Okay. So it does matter if we find out how old he is. It does. But it would also be a great understanding of if he's going to do, and guys, I am so light on this idea. I would dismiss this and tell you it's ridiculous. I can't when Dana did it. I can't come in and tell you something isn't going to happen if the boss just spoke and he didn't say that. So what if this is going to happen? Does Hasbulla have another opponent? Does Hasbulla just work? Does that just work? And if so, who do you match him up with? So you want to be it's very sensitive. As much as we all think this is very cool, it is very sensitive as to what's going on, and if this is an adult that everybody thinks is a little kid, and so he's getting away with something cute. It's very interesting because if he's not, and he doesn't see himself that way, and he's in the gym and he's training, I don't think anybody should tell him he doesn't have the right to see his dream. Hell no, we should not. That's a good thing. Guy's got a dream, guy's working for something, whole world's telling him he can't do it, and he finds a way. It's an incredible story. So let's not take that from him. Let's just be open to the idea, even if we're light on it. Even if this was a bet and you're going to short it, the conversation still exists, and it exists because the boss said so. So we don't have to wonder. We know it for sure. There is X amount of time in the UFC that has to go by before they do something fun. Right? Between the James Toney and the CM Punk and Hasbulla, there's been enough time. It's about every 10 years we do something just for the sake of having fun. That's a little check in that column. Again, I'm light on the idea. But I'm big on the phenomenon. Why does this work? I have a son about the size of Hasbulla. Can I put him in a cute suit, take him around, have him punch fighters in the face, and make sure I film it and make him a star? No, I could not. And neither could you. If you have a kid and you think, well, I'm going to get him in there and he's going to be it's not how it works. Everything was right for this story. I can lay the pieces out. I can tell you how it happened. It doesn't mean that it can be duplicated, which is why you have something very special, which is why I think Dana is not closed the door. Why would Dana want to go crush a person's dream who's having, for the first time, he's having some real fun, having some real notoriety. He's a big fight fan. He gets to hang out with Khabib. He's a big fight fan, and he's got Joe Rogan talking. Right, that's a cool thing. Don't take that from anybody. You want to support that. But if we were going to, okay, we've said all of the nice stuff. Now let's be realistic, because the rules can be very tough. The rules can be very, very hard. Will the rules let Hasbulla get a fight? Maybe. Mike Mazzulli and other people are going to have to tell us the answer to that. Who's he going to compete with? If he is, in fact, over 18, he could not take on a minor for many different reasons. The simplest, which I will tell you, is a minor just can't get a license. So could Hasbulla go in there with someone else? Where is this going to go? And more than anything, even if you were where I was initially, this guy's a nerd, let's go be a jerk about it, till you get the rest of the story, and then you kind of feel a little bit bad for saying that. Before we do that, let's at least acknowledge something is happening here. My boss, Glenn, at ESPN, tells me all the time before we go on TV, if something, this is the word he uses, if something is happening, we have good TV. But it's got to be something. And I'm submitting for you, something's happening with Hasbulla. And it's not dying off. This is not just a flash in the pan. It's got legs, it's growing, it's getting bigger. I have a massive audience. Not shining my own wheels, but you guys are part of it, and you see the numbers. In all fairness, I've never spoke about them, and now I am. And you guys are going to make comments. You're going to tell me what part of my story is wrong, and you're going to tell me where I got my information bad. And I'm going to read those comments, and I'm going to be back, and I'm going to talk about them again. I'm going to talk about them until you guys want to be done talking about him. We have to study what's going on. We have to study how you got here. Khabib is giving the blessing to Hasbulla. Okay, great. Khabib is also giving the blessing to Islam Makhachev. Didn't quite have the same result. I only bring that to you because don't come and just tell me this is Khabib. Khabib's a star and we do whatever he says. No, not necessarily. This one's different. The question becomes, why?